Hi, I'm Johnson Oroyemi. In this video, I'll be providing answer to the question I've been receiving from some of you conserving students as well as fresh graduates. The question of what you should focus on to be a good quantity surveyor. Like as I've always respond to you guys, to be a good quantity surveyor takes a combination of skills and knowledge. However, I know the reason why so many of you are asking this question is to ensure you don't major on minor or minor on major. So in this video, I'll be doing justice to that. And to do justice to that, like I said, like I promised, I'll first of all need to define, or let me say, who is a quantity surveyor. According to Royal Institute of Chartered Surveyor, a quantity surveyor is a cost manager in construction industry. And I want you to pay attention to two keywords there: cost manager, then construction industry. It therefore means that you need a thorough understanding of construction as well as quantification and costing of construction works. Now, don't get me wrong. I understand that conserving profession has, evolved beyond just costing, um, management of cost of construction works. However, like I've told so many of you, it is important you understand the basic of your profession before you move on to the advanced part of that profession. So back to the definition. A quantity surveyor is a cost manager in construction industry. And like I've said, we could deduce from that you need a good knowledge of construction and knowledge of quantification and costing of construction work. Now, what do I mean by a good knowledge of construction? Because so many of you might wonder, as it is the reality and the fact that there are different parts to work in that you can work. There are different fields you can work in construction industry as a quantity surveyor. So what I mean by a good knowledge of construction is therefore understanding the construction techniques, process, material, and interrelationship between elements of construction as it is applicable to your chosen part. There are different parts, like I said, in construction industry. Some quantity surveyor work in building construction. Some quantity surveyors chosen part is in infrastructure, which is a combination of civil engineering and heavy engineering works. While some quantity surveyors chosen part in construction industry is in services. So as a result, what I mean by knowledge of construction, therefore, is techniques, processes, materials, as it is applicable, and as well as interrelationship between elements of construction as it is applicable to your chosen field. For a quantity surveyor working in services, that is mechanical, electrical, and plumbing, which is, in abbreviation, you can say MEP, you need a thorough understanding of mechanical, electrical, and plumbing services. So that's what I mean by a good knowledge of construction. Now, like I've said, the next knowledge or skill that you need is quantification and costing of construction work. But there's something that I have observed, and as it is seen in many undergraduate studies, that there's a tendency to focus on measurements in real in a, to focus on measurements in relation to standard method of measurement. However, what I've also discovered is that there are other professionals in construction industry who also understand, and as a result of being acquainted with standard method of measurement, can easily carry out measurement. So why quantification is very important for you, my emphasis for the second knowledge and skill that you need to be a good quantity surveyor will be on the costing part, which in other words can be termed as estimating. So meaning, what I'm saying in a nutshell is that you need to focus in your costing, in your quantification and costing knowledge that you need to be a good quantity surveyor. I would like you to actually play emphasis on knowledge of estimating, thorough knowledge of estimating. Now, these two skill sets and knowledge is actually also in line with the competency requirements by RICS. There are three categories of competency requirement by RICS. There is the mandatory requirements, that is mandatory competence. There is technical core competency, and there is technical optional. Now, for the mandatory competence, it is the personal, interpersonal, professional practice, and business skills that is not only limited to quantity surveying practice. So it's not only limited to quantity surveying practice, it's applicable to other professional in construction industry. However, the second category, which is technical core, is the primary skill of your chosen path, which in this case, for a quantity surveyor, like I've said, it is knowledge, a good knowledge of construction. That is what you can also, in other words, call construction technology and quantification and costing of construction works. So if you look at the competency requirement under technical core competence requirement for a quantity surveyor, you will find construction technology there. You will find procurement and tendering there. You will find quantification and costing of construction work there. You will find contract practice, and as well as commercial management or design economics and cost planning. So this further emphasize and provide justification to why I said construction knowledge and as well as quantification and costing of construction work are the two most important knowledge and skill that you need to become a good quantity surveyor. However, it is important to also note here, like I've said at the beginning of this video, that it takes combination of skills and knowledge to be a good quantity surveyor. So the essence of this video is to ensure that you don't major or minor or major. And I hope this video helps. Thank you and see you another time.